Hello friends, welcome to today's video. Welcome to my channel. If we have not met, my name is Tanya. Hi. And I like talking about books on this channel here. And if that's something you're interested in, then welcome. Let's talk about books. So I am going to be, for today's video, talking about the books I read in March. Now, as misleading as this giant stack may be, did I read all these? No, I did not. I only read 5 books. Well, not only. Any amount of reading is good reading. But I read 5 books. Granted, they were actually pretty thick books. March was like the month of big books reading. They were pretty big ones. So, but this is actually in the next video. So if you want to see, this is books that I bought. Did I need more? No. Maybe yes. Who knows, right? But I did. So if you want to see what some of these are that I've acquired over the last couple months, then stick around for the next video. But in today's video, I'm going to talk about the 5 books that I did read. So let's get into it. I hope you are all doing well. I hope that you had a wonderful March, that you had a good reading month, and that you got some good reading in. As always, share down below what was maybe your favorite read of the month, or maybe even just least favorite, let us know. So let's get started. I have to say, overall, this month has been, or March, was a pretty good reading month. So, and it was a month that I think I fell in love with another series. And this is funny because I had talked about this author, which I still am not fully sold on the author, but I do have to say that I am liking this series more than I thought I would, because I have previously tried to read these series, didn't really get into it, but that is ACOTAR. And I read, the first book that I read in March was the second book in the series, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. And again, it's a chunker, what is it, like 600 pages? Yeah, almost 600 pages. And I do have to say that this is my favorite book so far. I have read other ones as well, but this is the one I read in March, and I have to say that this book is what redeemed, I think, the series for me. It's really what had all those concepts of found family, the characters, that romance. But for me, I'm not a big fan of Sarah J. Maas's like sexy, spicy scenes. I don't know, for some reason to me, she kind of writes them weird. I don't know why, they're just weird to me. So that's definitely actually like one of my least favorite parts. I don't know what it is about her writing that I don't like how she writes those scenes, but her character development and like found family and other things I really love. And I feel like this, I've read the other books, but this has been my favorite book so far in the series, and I really enjoyed it. I did give this one 5 out of 5 because I just kept thinking about the characters and wanting to be back in that world. And I'm glad that I did give it a chance, because I kind of gave up on the series after the first book. It was good, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh. And so a friend of mine, this is like her favorite series of all time, and I know a lot of people really love it. And so I decided to give it a second chance, and I'm glad that I did. I love this book, and yeah, I just love the whole found family and all the characters in it. I don't want to give anything away, but I think if you have been maybe like not really wanting to give the series a try, or maybe you read the first one like me and you're like, try the second one, because the second one I think definitely is like, it redeems the series and it's just so good. And yeah, really glad that I read this one. And the next book I read, this is also technically a haul in a way, because I did buy it and then I read it in March, but different video. But it is Archer's Voice, and I ended up giving this book, I believe, 3 stars. Honestly, probably like 2.5, 3 stars. And the reasoning for why is, for me, I think I had seen a lot about this book. I see it, like on BookTube and places, and people really enjoy it and they're like rave about it. I mean, just like I guess with any book, but I kept seeing a lot about this in particular, and I was like, all right, it looks amazing. I love a good romance, love story. And I read it, and I buddy read it with my friend Laura, and we were talking about this like back and forth. And the reason I felt like it felt short, and it's not even that I like the characters, especially I liked Archer, and it follows the story of this, again, I'm so bad with remembering names. What is the girl's name? Anyway, the girl, what is her name? Okay, well, there's Archer, obviously. Bree. Okay, there we go. So the girl, Bree, it follows Bree and Archer's story, and they both have trauma from their past, and it's in a small town, romance. And again, all of those things are normally things that I love. I love small town. I love romance. I love, you know, like dealing through things, talking about your past. Like all that seems interesting. I love different concepts of this. But the thing is that I felt like, and maybe especially going from a book like this to this, granted I know they're not the same, but I feel like when you have, what is this, like 380 pages, there was just so much, so many deep things, like the trauma alone, plus the romance, plus then there's like all these other things, things in the town, like family drama, like there's like so much that it felt almost like rushed to me, that I felt like if you could have just taken a few of those things, like just taking the romance and the trauma, like that alone, you could have like really developed that and really like focused on it. It just felt kind of like rushed to me. Like I think it had potential, but again, it just, like there was just so much going on that it was like, and I felt like it was kind of like, it didn't go deep for me. And I'd rather maybe be not as many things, but to go on a deeper level and like really, like, whereas this, I felt like I really, and granted this is also bigger, but I felt like you really get to know the characters. There's character development. You get to, you know, you feel like you are in their world. In this, again, like you can tell, like I like forgot the girl's name. Like it was okay, I read it, but do I feel like invested? Do I like care with my heart and soul about these characters? Not really, no. So I don't know, I think it was an interesting story. Like I said, like I think it had so much potential. Like the story was interesting, the concept was interesting, but it's just the way it was done. It was not my favorite, and I don't see myself ever like rereading this. So I don't know, I don't exactly recommend it. Again, if you see a lot of it and you're like me and you're curious about it and the hype, like try it out. I don't think it's horrible, but it was definitely not, I think this was one of my least favorite reads of the month. So yeah. The next book, and I'll put it up here, I got an ARC copy, so thank you to the author and to NetGalley. That is how I got the ARC copy. I read it on my Kindle, and it is called Hello Stranger. And it is by Catherine Center, and I was so excited when I saw, and I was so glad that I got picked for an art copy, because this author is also the one who wrote Bodyguard. I read that last year and I love that book. It was one of my 5-star reads. Catherine Center, she does like, I really like her writing. I think she's becoming one of my favorite authors. There's something about her writing I just really enjoy. It keeps me engaged. She does romance really well, banter really well. And it's done well. I don't know, I really like it. And same with this book. This was another 5-star read for me. Like 4.5, 5, I would say. I know maybe I'm generous sometimes, but I just love her books. Like I would purchase her books. So I don't think it's out yet. I think it will be, but if you get a chance to read it, definitely do so. It follows the story of Sadie, and she is a struggling artist and like painter, and she's just kind of struggling in life. She's trying to, you know, become an artist and try to be successful. She's dealing with some things from her past, from her family, and just things that are affecting her now in the present. And so when she, something happens to her, and I don't want to give it too much away, but if you read the story, I thought it was an interesting twist. It wasn't something that I had read a lot about, and so I think it was done really interesting. And again, it's a love story, but it's more than that. Like I really enjoy it. And there's kind of like mistaking identity and different things, and just learning about herself as well as she's struggling through these things, because she goes through something like a medical condition kind of happens to her, which it's something that I've not read about too much, so it's interesting. It was different. Again, the banter, the side characters were also done really well, as well as the main characters. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was sweet. I thought it was good. It does a great job of combining, you know, like romance and banter, but also serious topics about death and grieving and other concepts as well. And like I said, I just really like the author's writing. So it was a 5 out of 5 read for me, or 4.5, I guess, say 4.5, 5. Either way, it was wonderful, and I would highly recommend reading it. And I'm excited to see what else this author has, because I definitely will want to read it right away, because so far I've loved all of her books. Then the next book that I read was also a Kindle book, Venom and Lace. I did also get an art copy of this from the author as well, so thank you so much, and from NetGalley. And this, I don't know, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't know what to expect from this, and it was a wonderful surprise. So this book, I would say, is it like a dark romance? It definitely has spice in it, so just be aware. But something about the book, it had twists that I did not expect. Like, I thought I knew where it was going, and it was done really well. And then the ending, it ended like on a cliffhanger. Like, I wanted to read more. I was like, wait, what? So I'm definitely thinking there's more to this series, and I'm excited to see where it's going, but it is definitely kind of like a dark romance kind of situation. So it follows this woman. Basically, I never know people's names. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm terrible with pronouncing or remembering the names, but Reason, I think, is Ryzen. I'm not sure his name. Made me think of Reese from ACOTAR. But anyway, Reason, he is this billionaire guy, you know, like it takes place in Chicago, and he's kind of like the bad boy or whatever. And again, you think you know where this is going, but I don't want to give it all away. But there is a fake fiance, like fake engagement, alignment situation made up between him and this woman. And so it kind of follows that relationship. But there is another twist in the story. Again, I don't want to give it away because I was like, I did not see this coming, because I thought I knew where it was like, okay, typical kind of maybe like dark romance. I know where this is going, like this whole situation, enemies to lovers. It is different. It was good. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, definitely be aware that some of the spice was there is spice in it, so just be aware. But overall, I read through it, and I think in 2 days, I really wanted to see what happened, and I enjoyed, again, don't want to get away, but the characters in the story, it was really good to like see the different characters and see the development. It was really good, and I'm excited again to see, because it ended on kind of a cliffhanger, so I'm excited to see what the next book is. So thank you to the author for the art copy. I'm really glad I read it. I just really love the cover. I think it's really pretty, and I'm excited to see what is next in this series. And then the last book that I read in the month was also a big fantasy book, so it's a little bit chunky, but it also was an introduction to, I think, an author that's becoming one of my favorite authors. And the book that I read is Serpent and the Serpent and the Wings of Night. There we go. I can read. Again, I've seen this floating around a bit, and then it's on Kindle Unlimited, so that's how I read it, and I didn't really know what to expect. I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars. I believe it's like, how many pages? Like 600? Yeah, it's 530 pages, so it is a pretty big book, but I really enjoyed this one as well. There's something, again, about this author's writing that her writing, so it's a fantasy romance, I would say that her writing to me is better than Sarah J. Maas and how she does some of the other things. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I love ACOTAR, but there's something about her writing that I wish, who's that? Again, let me say that, Carissa Broadbent. I wish that, like, Sarah J. Maas, I'm like, do a little bit of what she does in her writing, because I think if Sarah J. Maas incorporated her writing into some of her books, it would be like above and beyond that. I love her writing. There's something about it. It's fantasy and romance, but there's something about her writing that just how she writes is good. Like how she describes things, it's like deeper. I don't know, like it's just like the words are like juicy. I don't know, like does that make sense? And this book follows, it made me think of like Hunger Games with vampires. It's basically how I would explain it. I was trying to tell my husband about it, and that's how I'd explain it. And so it follows this girl, and she is taken as a child. She's human, and she's taken as a child by the king of the vampires, I guess is what it is. And so she's raised her whole life living within this place where essentially like she's in danger at all times because the vampires would like, you know, want to kill her and suck her blood and stuff. But it's leading up to this thing that happens, like I said, it's like Hunger Games. It happens every, what is it, like 100 years or something. That is basically like a Hunger Games. There's like this competition, and to, you know, survive it, if you win it, there's this prize. And so that's kind of the cultivation of like what she's been working towards that's happening. So then it also, like I said, because it takes place with the vampires, and so it follows, there's obviously lots of vampires and there's a certain character in there. So it's done really well, like I said, and it follows her connection with some of the vampires that are in the trials that are happening. But again, the characters are just done so well, and I love the connections of the characters of the paths of the characters to where they are now, I think it intertwines so well because it goes, sometimes there's flashbacks back and forth, and just, I've really loved it, and I have definitely interested. I think it's a series. There's another one coming out. I really recommend it. I'm reading another book by this author that I'll have hopefully feedback about for next month that I'm reading this month. And I just really recommend. She's becoming one of my favorite fantasy author readers. I just really think she does fantasy so well. She takes it to more than just fantasy romance. There's just, I just always feel like connection to her characters, like on a deeper level. It's so good. Definitely recommend. Yeah, so those are the 5 books that I read in March. And I will see you in the next video. Check out, hopefully my next video will be my book haul, sharing the books that I recently have acquired. And I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.